We'll be looking at Mr. Terkper's supplementary budget, asking for 1.8 billion Ghana cedis to do what he describes as invest in key sectors of the economy and also to run some programs and policies for the rest of the year. Mr. Gentle, I'll start with you.
Oh, really? I thought she said you were
If you want me to pass, I'll pass,
yes,
and then
pass.
I'll come back to you.
Yes.
Mr. Nana Kumia.
Sorry?
On the budget, the supplementary budget.
You want me to start?
Yes, please.
Oh, no
Mr.
problem.
Park says, well, it's coming from them, so pretty much concurring. So.
No. I mean, once the truth is there, it really doesn't matter. Now, the government came to Parliament in last year, November. And said that Parliament should approve 50 billion cedis for the government to spend. That approval was given. The government has come back into Parliament to say that it needs an extra 1.8 million Ghana cedis to spend.
Billion, actually.
So the Parliament is going to debate it and maybe approve. What is in it for we, the rest of Ghanaians? There's nothing in it. The government couldn't. After the 50 billion, they said we should give them more money. So more money. But really, what is in it? Look, this money that we will give to them, what is it going to do? I mean, you still have Doomsaw? Because Terkper said that this money is going to turn around the lives of Ghanaians. And he was boasting. Then he was talking about they've done a clinic there, they've done some roads there, they've done a bridge there, and all of that. What is he talking about? This government, Abina, if you tell them you have a headache, they will tell you they are building a clinic at, they are doing an extension at Rich Hospital. If you tell them you can't pay school fees, they will tell you they are doing an interchange at Circle, Kwame Nkrumah Circle. If you tell them you can't pay your rent, they will tell you they are doing some road on the Eastern Corridor. Everything you tell them, they say, we are doing infrastructure, we are doing infrastructure. That's all. As we speak, there's Doomsaw. After all the 50 billion that was given to you, this 1.8 that you want, there's still Doomsaw. Education is not funded properly. Even the headmasters are threatening to close down the schools. Since you became an adult and you went to secondary school, when did you have an occasion when all the headmasters in this country do a press conference to threaten that they will close down secondary schools? When? Abina? Do you remember anything like that? You know, unemployment for young people is completely out of control. The government has no program to give young people jobs. Corruption is very active. Even now the president himself has put himself into a conflict of interest situation where he's deemed to have taken a bribe. How worse can corruption get? The cost of living. Cost of living for the ordinary Ghanaian. Sanitation, flooding. Really, if you look, Abina, the fundamental problems that Ghanaians face. All these 18 billion that the government claims it has borrowed, and it hasn't borrowed more, and then all the money from oil, 3 billion, excess of $3 billion. What fundamental problem in this country has the government managed to solve significantly? Flooding? No. Unemployment? No. The value of the cedi? No. Manufacturing growth? No. Agricultural growth? No. Agric is declining.
Sorry to cut you, but briefly, if you could tell us, we're dealing with certain challenges currently, and we're looking at
the impact of the
exactly. So, what would you have expected, or what would you have loved to see in this?
I'm expecting to see that all the monies that we keep giving to this government, that economic growth will be better. As we speak, the economic growth rate that we are having now, this year is projected to grow at 3.6 by the IMF. That's the lowest in 20 years, despite the oil, despite the money. Agricultural growth, I'm expecting to see growth in agriculture because that's where the mass of our people are employed. Agriculture was growing at 7.4 when the NDC came into office. Today, agriculture is growing 0.04 from 7.4. Ghana, the food import bill, when these people came in 2008, was just about 400,000 tons. Now it's increased to 600. So we're importing more food. Cocoa production is declining. Industry is declining. In 2003, in 2013, it grew. Yes, but it's lost value. So since these people came into office, the value of your money is gone down 250%.
Very well, Nana. I will need to bring in.
Why are we running around for? Why?
I'll need to bring in Mr. Jantua
and then they are chopping
Dr.
have the money through corruption.
Dr. Pak. And Mr. Jantua, issues, Nana has raised a number of issues, falling targets and all. Indeed, Mr. Terkper conceded that in his presentation that certain targets were not met.
All
in fact, he says majority of targets set in the 2016 budget were not met. And he, citing examples to support this, he talked about tax revenues of 11 billion cedis falling by 6.4% to 10.3 billion cedis. And then the cash deficit increased, an increase in the cash deficit to about 2.5% as against the 2.2% target and all. I mean, all those issues there. But I would want you to look at how well we're doing. I mean, looking at this supplementary budget, do we seem to be on track in terms of our fiscal consolidation agenda? Because I think that is one of the things we are pursuing to close the gap.
Agric, employment, and the power sector. Now, most times when the finance minister comes to parliament to read the budget or supplementary budget, he states where agriculture is concerned, due to poor weather patterns in the first half of the year with the extended dry season, the agriculture sector has experienced poor growth. Where's the plan? If you know that we have bad weather, it affects agriculture. Majority of our people in the rural areas deal in agriculture. Where's the plan? I would have expected that every season the rains don't come or the rains come very sparingly. Do you not put an irrigation plan together? Can you not come back to Parliament and say, last year we experienced a low production in plantains, tomatoes, and some of the staple products that we have in this country. So we've put irrigation in place so that when there are no rains, at least we can increase agriculture. Has that plan been put in place? No. And he keeps coming back to ask for more money. More money to do what? To help agriculture? And if you're doing that, how do you help agriculture? Look, I'm vice chairman of the Public Interest and Accountability Committee. The amounts of money that was taken from the oil revenue into the agri sector was used to pay old debts. Nothing new was done. I think this was 2013, 2014.
Some was used to brand buses.
Nothing new
you remember?
Was done where agriculture is concerned. And the mainstay of our people in the rural area is agriculture.
Lead of our economy.
So, exactly. So what are we doing? What are we doing to help agriculture in this country? Tomatoes is scarce. Plantain is scarce. In fact, just recently, one
finger of plantain.
Finger of plantain.
5 cedis.
Some 1 cedi 50 pesos. A thumb size. 1 cedi 50 pesos. And this is food that the ordinary man buys every day. And if you are not increasing the salary of the ordinary man, where does he find the money to buy simple cocoa and inkatia? Then I come to employment. Really and truly, maybe Honorable will be able to tell me, what has government done? You forget about adult employment and look at students coming out of university. What new employment have we created over, I would say, the 8 years of an NDC government? What kind of employment? Tell me. The private sector, who seem to be the ones who try to create employment, when they go to the banks to get money to invest in their companies, how much interest are they paying? How much interest are they paying? And how do you expect them to grow? And even the banks themselves, when we decide to syndicate, to bring money together to build some of these important installations that we require, are they able to syndicate? So we need to look at all these things to be able to make sure that at least we are heading in a certain direction that brings growth. Now, power. Where are we today where power is concerned? I would have thought by now, with all the emergency, and I say emergency because that is what government made us understand, that all this car power and all, there are emergency units that are coming in. I would have thought by now would have learned our lesson. Because when government was talking about all these emergency power generators coming in, I expected government to say, we have also secured X amount of money to buy the fuel that will fuel these generators. But you bring them in, and now they look as if they are white elephants, just because currently the FPSO Kwame Nkrumah is not able to produce because of the problems in it. Now, you see...
And there's this thing about the purchase of another plant.
Yeah, right? Well, this is what I was coming to. You have seen the challenges of the FPSO Kwame Nkrumah. We have gone and purchased a new FPSO at Tamils to come and do the same job. Where is the variety? You'd have thought, and I remember at the beginning, and I've said this before, at the beginning of the oil industry, when President Kufuor declared that Ghana has discovered oil, some of us told him, we can have troubles using an FPSO. Rather, let's have a mix. Let's try and pipe some of this oil on land. They said it was an expensive thing to do. Are we not piping gas on land? It was not expensive.
He's roughing up to bring in Dr.
Now,
Park. We just have about
if we had piped oil on land, it will create jobs. We can even say that we are piping some to, what do you call it, Tema Oil Refinery to produce fuel for ourselves. It will have created a new industry on land, but we didn't do it. And we don't even know at this present moment how much oil is taken from the FPSO and sold onto vessels. Because everything is done on the high seas. We need to be able to sort this power crisis out. It needs to be sorted out. And for me, I think government should come out and say, now that we know the situation of gas, should come out and say, we have X amount of money for the next 6 to 8 months to buy LCO, to buy other forms of generation fuel so that we don't go through this doomsday again.
Very well. Dr. Park, I would want you to focus on two things: agriculture.
Yes.
Being the mainstay of our economy, and the fact that consistently we've seen a decline in there. And recently in the budget, about 40 million cedis was taken out of the allocation to that sector. Secondly, the issue about our power situation. We know that the situation has to do with fuel security, if you like, and the need to stockpile to be able to have fuel readily to power their plants. So why do we add on to it when we haven't solved the situation with our fuel?
Very well. I think that Anakomia has always took advantage of this opportunity to recite the talking points of the FPP, which he himself has put together as Director for Communications.
But if they are facts, then we shouldn't
No, they are not. That's the problem. Because some of them, for example, they need to be corrected. I mean, to suggest, for example, that when somebody is complaining about rent, we talk about building a hospital. He knows fully well that, in fact, our government is increasing public housing, and if you like, some of those projects that they didn't complete, we have come to complete them, to increase the options and make people have.
But you should know it's perpetual succession.
More perpetual succession. So the point I'm making is that
to do it. We have
the point I'm making is that yes, we
go.
can talk about the rent, but it is not as though government is not working to create more avenues for people to be able to get a place to lay their heads.
But the rents
And then he talks about
So you're addressing the issues you raised before you addressed
one or two key issues.
quickly, yes, please.
They both speak about the area of employment generation.
and agriculture.
We all know that globally, it has always been a challenge. I don't know of any single country in this world where they have ever been able to say that they have solved their unemployment problem. It's a global challenge. But you see, you have to create a conducive environment for people to be able to be entrepreneurial.
So what is that?
And give them
what
opportunities.
What is that environment you have created?
And you also have to create the conditions that can then create secondary employment opportunities.
So the question,
So
yes.
to tell me
Mr.
that
Transfer, please, yes.
all the time we speak about infrastructure. Those masons working to build those infrastructural projects, are they not being employed and paid?
How much are they paid?
The carpenters who are
How
doing the
much are they
fixtures,
paid?
are they not being paid? The contractors and surveyors on the roads, are they not being paid?
What about people
But-
coming out of school?
No. Very well. Of course, they also have opportunities.
Where?
If you are an engineer and you have finished KNUST and there is a contractor doing work on the road from Fumbisi to Sandma,
But we can't always
You-
be looking at
no,
employment in the
listen,
area of
the point must
infrastructure
be made.
development, can we?
that there are various ways of stimulating your economy
Right.
and creating avenues for employment opportunities. In fact, when the US went into recession, the strategy that the American government under Obama used was massive investments in
But the
infrastructure.
economy is not being
And it worked.
stimulated.
It's a
The
different
economy is not
economy.
being-
Yes.
It's a different
People
economy.
are getting.
It's a
you-
different
you
economy.
disagree that if you go to the rich hospital which is being built, are people not there working? Don't they get a salary?
But the
Don't they
returns
get
on
paid?
that is what we're looking at.
I ask you a simple question.
Is it long term?
No,
But
Mr. Jansen,
that
please
is
allow
going to
yes.
create long-term opportunities.
How?
Because it is going to be a much more expanded hospital
Once that
with
hospital
more
is-
specialized
Please
facilities,
allow
which
him.
is then going to be a basis to employ those
Can I
graduates
ask you
No,
one
no,
question?
no,
who are
please.
coming
Let
out.
him,
Now, I
let
want
him.
to
Be as it may. Then
Listen,
they also
Dr.
talk
Park,
about
I want
No,
an
agri.
no, no,
explanation.
please.
They talk about agri.
I want
No,
an
please. No,
explanation.
let him land and then you have it briefly before we wrap
you
up.
talk
You
about
see-
agri.
you see for my mind.
Please, no.
In fact,
Now,
contrary.
you talk about projects and you say it's providing employment. But John Mahama, the president, told us that projects, and government touting is an exercise in mediocrity. Now you are telling us that that's what is going to solve unemployment.
It is part of a grand strategy.
But you told
Dr.
us some
Park, please
time
go
ago.
on. No, no,
What's
no,
the
no, please.
strategy?
Let him wrap up. We
Contrary-
are almost
it wasn't
out
the
of
thing that
time.
has to be done.
Contrary to the case that my two colleagues are seeking to make. In fact, agriculture sector grew by 2.8% between January to April of this year.
Between January to April.
Agriculture.
Yeah, January 2015 to April 2016.
Prove.
I am telling you, that is what we
And
have
we can't-
presented.
we can't
Do you
get-
have
and we can't-
contrary
Very
evidence?
well.
We
Now,
can't
I
get
will
plantains
take-
Do you
to
have
eat.
contrary
We
evidence?
can't get tomatoes to eat.
Do you
Mr.
have contrary
Johnson,
evidence to that?
Dr. Park is asking if you have contrary evidence
You
to
don't.
rebut what he's saying.
What kind
But
of
we know
employment was
consistently-
created?
And then you spoke about
The agri sector has been declined. But let me take messages, please,
just
before
one
we
more
wrap
thing.
up.
They
One more
also
thing and
spoke
then
about
yes.
decline in cocoa production. We all know the lifespan of a cocoa tree. It peaks, and then after it peaks,
But it should be an
the
Very
yield-
well.
process.
that is why we have provided over 50 million
Dr. Park,
free seedlings
unfortunately, I
to
need
try
to.
and revive the cocoa industry.
Thank you very much, but our time is up.
They can have their critique,
time
all
is
right,
up.
but
Thank
it is
you.
not as though nothing
At
is
this
happening.
point, yes, I'd like to say a big thank
The
you to you, Dr.
economy
Park.
is
We've come
picking
to
up.
the end of the show.
The economic
That's
intelligence
Dr.
unit
Park
report
talking,
indicates
and
very
he
clearly.
is a presidential staffer
Oh, you
and
won't let-
a
you won't let me
parliamentary
finish my points.
candidate of Bunza South
Bunza South.
constituency.
She's tired of you.
Next to him is Mr. Kwame Jantua. He is a senior member of the CPP, also a vice chair of PIAC, and a technical advisor to the Civil Society Platform on Oil and Gas. And on my left is Nana Komia, Communications Director of the New Patriotic Party, NPP. Thank you so much for watching. Today, same time, same place next week. Until then, do have yourselves a very good weekend.
Charge me after.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.